All right, everybody. Thank you for joining me today on another episode of Security Nibbles. So, as indicated, we are going to be looking at a few functions high level on ZAP Proxy today. I'm going to show you how to just kind of get it out of the box, set it up, and make sure that we do some things that, will make our lives a little easier. Now, you'll notice here that I've got my Kali distribution up. I'm going to type ZAP Proxy. So essentially just zap and then tab and hit enter. Now, please remember while we're doing this to like, subscribe, comment, and leave me a little message on LinkedIn if you're there with me. And let me know what you maybe want to see in the future and we can see what we can do. Now, at this time, I'm not going to make it persistent or anything like that. Something to remember, with any proxy, you have to usually set it up to work in your browser. So in this case, it's showing at the bottom localhost in 8080. But if you need to check, you can go to Tools at the top, Options, and then go to Local Proxies, and you'll see that the settings are here. Now, you can also select other security protocols and make modifications here as well. Now, something that I've gone ahead and done as well, I've set up the proxy, and I've configured a certificate to be used with the proxy to prevent connectivity issues. Sometimes Google and things like that will block the connection outright. So to avoid that, you can go to Tools, Options again. You can go to Dynamic Cert, and then this one was generated by clicking Generate. And I clicked Save, and I saved the file here in Downloads. Now, let me show you how to set that up real quick. So two places you're going to want to look. You're going to start in, and this is Firefox, so you'll go to wherever your preferences are. In Firefox, it's General, and then down at the bottom, you've got Network Settings. This is similar for other browsers. And you'll go to Manual Proxy Configuration, enter your loopback address, essentially, port you're running off of, and use this proxy for all protocols. Now, if you're doing something different, then ignore those directions and do what you do, but this is how you kind of get it going out the box. Now, from there, we've generated a certificate as well. So we go to Privacy and Security. Scroll to the bottom and you'll see View Certificates, and then under Authorities you simply import that certificate that you generated, and then as you can see in my case, I've got some certificates sitting here as well, and this is just going to prevent issues when it comes to doing scans or moving through the web. Now, one thing to remember is that passively as you go through sites and things of that nature, you're making requests in the form of those HTTP headers and things like that. Get requests, post requests, that's all normal traffic as far as navigating and negotiating those connections. When you use active scanners, you're doing any type of manipulation of the site to try and get errors. You're trying to maybe do DIR busting or something like that. Now you're actively engaged in trying to find information or do things. Got to make sure we get permission before we do any of that. But we're just going to do some passive kind of going through sites here. So like if I click a shortcut here, all of the requests that come up and come through the proxy are going to be evaluated. So anytime we get a flag that says that, hey, there might be something going on here, and it ranks them based on low, medium, high, things of that nature. I can go over here to alerts at the bottom, and the neat thing about that is that any site in this case is going to be showing up here. Now, I'll show you some things that are kind of shortcomings in my mind, but I want to start with the cool stuff. So if I wanted this particular URL to be in scope, so if you look here at the top, we've got default context. See how it says remove from scope? You can create other contexts, and this is essentially where you can put sites and things of that nature that are going to be in scope and would be subject to maybe active scanning, and hopefully the tool doesn't go outside of that, but you always want to spot check it and make sure it's being honest and good to you. So if I wanted to add Kali.org into that, I can simply go into the include context, add it to the default context. It uses regex to essentially identify that anything Kali.org/anything is going to be in scope. We hit OK, and you'll notice here it puts a little target out next to them. And if I want it to just see things in scope, I can then focus on the information that's going to be pertinent to testing and things like that. If I want it to see any responses, I can see the requests. I can go to the request history and see it. You'll see here that it's got some things outside of that aren't in scope. but we can show only URLs in scope, and that makes our lives a little easier. Now, we're not going to do any active scans or testing, but something that I think is really cool about the ZAP Proxy is when you right-click on the site in question and you go to open in the browser, and I like to open it with Firefox. Sometimes Chrome tries and it fails. It gives you this nice one. You can see the request it's making here. And then it produces this really nice GUI that I think is really cool. And you can do a tutorial and go through and check it out. But when I'm actively going through the site, it shows me the alerts and things associated with the site. So I can do some real-time checks here. You can play around with some of the different items and objects, and really just kind of dive in from this perspective instead of looking at the ZAP Proxy directly. So if I wanted to see like the low alerts, shows me what it thinks are issues or vulnerabilities. I can click into it, go to the site, and then it shows me with this particular URL what it thinks is going on with respect to this incomplete or no cache control. And it'll give you the solution. It provides an ID, and in this case it's not providing evidence, but in some cases, if we go like to the wildcard directive here, it may actually provide some evidence as far as what it saw in the header and what it may think is leading to that, and as well as some additional references. So it's very cool, very easy to use. You can do some more active type things here, navigate the site tree and go into that. And if I want it to go and just click on that, I can actually see the response and the request information. I can replay it in the console or in the browser. So there's a lot of things that you can do here that I think are really cool from this perspective, because now I can kind of actively look at the site. I'm not, having to go through and look at the header information and evaluate this. Now, in other tools, it will point out where in the response it thinks that these things are vulnerabilities, etc. So again, this is just one tool, but it's something that I think is pretty cool and kind of unique when working with proxies and things of that nature. Now, once all that is said and done, you can actually generate a report. There may be some plugins out there that you can use to essentially narrow this down. But the thing is that by the way it works out the box, anything that it scans here and it flags is going to show up in the report. So if you're doing this for a client or for like an executive presentation, you're probably going to have to do some snipping and manipulating. But I mean, again, this is just a really basic report. It's essentially everything that you were looking at in the browser. But if you need to put a report together, this is definitely something that you can use or do. But if you're, again, some kind of compliance mandate or some type of required review, or maybe it's an internal thing and you just need to see, maybe if you spun up a site, you want to kind of see if there's anything of high concern or high risk, you can run it through the tool, kind of focus on the URLs that are going to be specific to your site. And overall, there's a lot of other things you can do, such as fuzzing. You can do some manipulation of the different headers and try to do additional testing. I'm only scratching the surface on this. But again, it could be beneficial to you. There could be some things here that you see that you like. It may be easier to use for you than Burp. There may be more functions in it than having to maybe pay for Burp, because there are some functionalities that they put behind a paywall there. But again, whatever suits you, whatever's going to fit the mold is definitely what you want to do. So I hope you enjoyed the episode today. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.